Hello, so I added these little drawings just for clarification to show you what we'll be doing next. For materials, I start off with a 3.5mm hook, weight for yarn, and scissors. To start off, we're going to chain 5, slip stitch the first and last chain together to create a loop. This is going to be the circle that we're going to put our stitches in for row 1. For the type of cup that we have, this circle is going to be the inner part of each cup. With the type of cup that we have, we're going to only be increasing on the middle and the side, keeping the bottom side flat. Once you've made that loop, chain 2 and make 5 double crochets through the loop. The chain 2 counts as a double crochet, so you're only going to be making 4 if you plan on doing 5. Depending on the size that you want, you can kind of gauge it off of me and my size. I'm very flat-chested, but I know not all of my audience is. So if you want it to be bigger, then you could increase the number of double crochets that you start with by 2, meaning 7, 9, or 11. But to start off for mine, I'm going to just have a total of 5 double crochets in the first row, going through that chain 5 loop that we created before. Like I said before, we're going to be increasing in the middle and the outside. So this is our first increase. So since the chain 2 counts as one, you're just going to do a double crochet in the first stitch, and that's going to be considered an increase. So like all throughout this tutorial, just pretend as if that chain 2 is a double crochet. So that was the outside. That's going to be our increase side, which means the other side will be the one that we don't do anything with, that we just act normal with. But we need an increase in the middle. So since we did 5, the middle number is 3, but depending on what you started with, your middle number might be different. I would just count it out. So you can see in that third stitch, I'm going to do an increase. An increase is just 2 double crochets in one. So I did 1 double crochet. Now I'm going to go back in that same stitch and do another double crochet. This is going to basically be the concept for the rest of the cup, except when you flip it, now you're going to be starting on the row where you don't increase, so you're going to be finishing with the increase instead. But the middle one always stays the same. So now we finished on the side that doesn't have increases. So instead of working in that first stitch like we did last time, since that's considered a double crochet, we're going to start on the second one and skip it so that technically it only has 1 in that stitch. And then once I get to the middle one, I'm going to do an increase again. Just making sure I know where my middle is, and I would keep in mind that just keep checking yourself to see what your middle stitch is. Typically, if you approach an increase, that's usually a good time to start your increase, but sometimes it can get wonky, and it's not a big deal because the stitch number will still be the same no matter where you put the increase, but it's just good to keep in mind. So now I'm approaching the middle and I'm doing an increase. That's my second double crochet, and then I'm getting towards the end. So since we always consider the chain 2 to count as a normal stitch, instead of increasing in the last stitch, you're going to want to put an increase in the chain 2 because that's technically speaking the last stitch since we're counting it as one. I just keep clarifying because I know it can be confusing. So to put the increase in the increase in the chain 2, you just stick your hook in and just pull through whatever. So once you finish all that and it's a good size to cover you, we're going to turn our work. You want to make sure that you finish on a side that finishes with increases. So like it would start with one that is the normal side and then end with 2 double crochets in the last stitch. I kind of just measured this against my body and to figure out the desired coverage that I wanted. And just keeping track of where that increase is. In case you didn't know what the increase looks like, you can kind of tell within the stitches. It's going to be like a little V from the double crochets, and that's a good way to tell. So in order to make a clean edge on the inside part of the cup, we're going to do half double crochets down the side. So it's important that you finish on a side ending in an increase. Turn your work in chain 1 and work alongside the side of the rows that we just did, putting a half double crochet in any gap that you can put your hook in all along the side. Repeat the process for the other cup. Now let's line up our cups how they're supposed to be. The side with no increases is going to be on the bottom, and the top of the cups are going to be the diagonals that are going to be on the outside. See, that one's wrong, so I had to put the flat side on the bottom. Now I've made a slip knot and I'm going to pull it through the bottom right corner, the inner corner of the left cup. We're going to start to do a single crochet, a row of chains for the back, and then a single crochet to bring it all together. I always like to chain one before my work if you can't tell, because honestly I don't know how I'd be able to do anything without my chain ones before each row. So I'm just going through the bottom and I'm going to be putting single crochets through each one. It was windy outside and a mess, so don't mind me taking my time to do this. So now you're going to be making a chain that's going to be the length of the back, not including the cups. So I highly suggest measuring how wide you want it to be, the whole wraparound, and then using a tape measure to measure it, because honestly it would be more accurate. But I don't feel like getting my tape measure, and maybe you don't too. So I'm going to make an extra long chain, and then I'm going to show you guys how I measure it, and just pinch where I want the length to be, how long I want the chain to be, and then I just pull to that point. And I also keep in mind that it's going to stretch, so I do a little less. Now that we have that long cup, you're going to want to go on the outside corner of the bottom of the cup, not the inside, because we want it to start and finish on the inside and go back and forth like that. So you want to make sure you figure out the bottom, it'll be the bottom right corner of the right cup. And then just single crochet all the way across. Now we're going to start our mesh pattern. Start off by chaining 3, and then instead of going into the first stitch where we did the chain 3, go into the second stitch and put in a double crochet, and then chain 1, and then skip a stitch, and then do a double crochet, chain 1. Do that in the rest of the row, and when you approach the chains, you're going to do the same concept where you skip a chain, double crochet, chain 1, skip a chain, creating that mesh, creating gaps for us to put in for the next row. In your last stitch, we're going to do an increase by putting 2 double crochet chain 1s in the last stitch. This is basically what we're going to be doing for the rest of the rows, where we're going to be ending the last gap with a increase of double crochet. So you see I'm going back into that first stitch and doing another double crochet. Once you're done that row, we're going to chain 3, skip that first gap that we created, and double crochet, chain 1 in each gap. The reason I'm doing this is because it's a nice way to start the row, making it look like a gap with it being chains. If we had put it in the same one, it would have looked a little weird. But while doing this, it creates a decrease in the number we have, so that's why we're going to add the increase at the end to have an even amount. So you're going to just keep repeating this pattern where you're going to go throughout each of the gaps, putting double crochet in each one. And I did a total of 15 rows, but you can do how long as you want it to be, but that was a good length for me. Once you are done all the rows, fold the piece in half so that the cups meet in the middle. Insert your hook and yarn in the inner bottom corner of the cup and chain 75. We're going to do one for each cup so that we can tie it together in the front, making the little bow tie. Now you're going to repeat the same process but chaining 100 to 150. I did 110. It doesn't have to be that long because the cup's already pretty high, but this is going to be the straps that tie above our neck. Once you've tied in the front and the top, you're all done. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed, please make sure to like and subscribe.